Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about one of the big problems that I see, and a lot of people do this and they feel like they are being intelligent, but the reality is that they are not actually being intelligent. Because people who are truly intelligent understand how to take concepts and apply them. Okay, simply being inquisitive to the point to where you come up with silly scenarios and questions doesn't help you. And it would be different if we were dealing with something abstract, but training is an applied science. Sports sciences are an applied science. They're an applied science that we are trying to apply in the human body for specific performance and structural outcomes. Okay, it's not well suited to too many hypotheticals. We have to focus on what works. And in fact, even too many analogies can be problematic. But one of the things that I see that people do, they come up with a lot of hypotheticals instead of saying, hey, let me figure out what works. Let me ask really goofy hypothetical questions. And I'm not saying experimentation doesn't have its place. But for most of you out there, you don't have the facilities to experiment. Okay, that's like someone saying, well, I'm going to be a scientist and experiment, and they don't have any equipment or test subjects. Right? That's going to be a problem for you. And it's the same thing when it comes to your training. And perfect examples of stuff. I mean, I will see people say, hey, coach, if a lifter only did these 4 exercises versus only these 4 exercises, which one's going to get bigger and stronger? Okay. Well, they're both going to be way below their potential, and they're both going to have a much higher risk of injury, and it's a stupid question. Okay? How often do you see me only do 4 exercises in a single training session? I do at least 4 exercises on my days off from training that you might not even see me do on camera ever, because they're not part of my normal training. So what does that tell you? For me as a strength coach, and for someone who has at least one elite lift, couple depending upon what chart you use, trying to become an elite lifter across the board, as a full-time coach, I can tell you right now, there is no scenario where I'd only do 1. Or it's a, hey coach, what is the best lift for this muscle group? If there was only one best lift, that's all anyone would ever do. Furthermore, let me ask you the serious question. Let's get over to hypotheticals. Hypothetically, if you found the best lift for a muscle group and you did it day in, day out all the time, and you don't ever change it up, what's your risk of injury look like? What are your odds of an overuse injury compared to if you actually varied it? Well, they're much higher. So what do we mean best? Best in what context? Best in what context? Either you are working a muscle and hitting the full range of motor units, or you aren't. Okay? Either you are or you aren't. There is no hypothetical best. Either you're training the muscle effectively or you aren't. Is it a good exercise or not? There's no best. There might be different joint angles that get hit a little more than others. Might be certain heads of a muscle with slightly more emphasis on something. There's no best. And to just sit around doing the same movement pattern leads to overuse. Potentially stagnation, definitely overuse. So why would you even do that? Why don't you just train correctly? And that's what I would say to people. Instead of asking that question, why don't you just learn to train correctly? Why don't you use the correct tools that we already have? Okay. It's all freely available at this point. People who have the free time to sit around wondering these questions have the free time to research and learn how to train correctly. Okay, the people who don't have the free time to do that are oftentimes like my people who I have to coach, right? People who make enough disposable income to hire a coach, who don't have enormous amounts of free time to research all this stuff themselves. Okay, that's who hires a coach. If you're not that person, then figure out how to train correctly. Put in the time, put in the research, get under the iron and do it. All right, hypotheticals do nothing but cause paralysis by analysis. They cause paralysis by analysis, and I really don't like them, especially the comparative, hey, if A, then B. Neither. Why would you care? Why would it even matter? Is that how any champions train? Is that what the best coaches in the world have people do? How about instead of your hypothetical, you ask what do the best coaches in the world have their athletes do? So there's a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if you did something else that you came up with yourself, some silly shit, versus if you figured out what some of the best coaches in the world do, who would make better gains. There's a hypothetical for you. How's that? Why don't we do what works versus something that is not proven to work and see which one works better? There's a hypothetical. And it's bullshit. Okay? It is, these sort of hypotheticals that people come up with are for people who basically just have a wandering mind. They're not focused. They're lazy. They're undisciplined. Okay? Because people who are disciplined don't sit around doing that. They don't wonder about that sort of silly shit. They figure out what works, what's going to get them the results that they want. And if they're truly inquisitive, they figure out why. Okay, that's what an intelligent, inquisitive mind does. Say, okay, this is the methods that work. Someone who wants results says, let me just figure out which methods work. I don't care why they work. I just need them to work. I want the actual results of it. Okay, I want the results of it. I don't care about how it actually happens. The inquisitive person who is actually intelligent and not inquisitive because they smoke too much pot and they're sitting around with their brain wandering, because that's a lot of what it is. I mean, some of the hypotheticals, it's like the guy, he hits the blunt and he goes, so if Professor X can move stuff with his mind, why can't he move his legs? Okay, that's what it reminds me of. No, the truly intelligent, inquisitive person, because they just have an inquiring mind, says, okay, this is what works. This is what we know works. I want to understand why it works. I want to understand why it works. I'm going to do it either way, but I want to understand it. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's largely what my life is dedicated to these days, is the understanding the why and the how so that I can apply it to more lifters and more athletes. It's great. But what I might suggest to that person is, if you're going to invest enough time to understand it, you might want to be considering a profession in it. Okay? Because otherwise, at that point, you're going to invest a whole lot of your life into it, into understanding something that is done as a profession and not bother to do it at a professional level. You know, you might want to consider replacing whatever career you were pursuing with that at that point, if you're going to take it that serious to truly understand it. But the hypotheticals themselves, they're nonsense. They're complete bullshit. My response question is, well, hypothetically, what would happen if you just learned how to do this correctly? What would work better? Doing what works, that we know that works, and learning how to train, versus coach. If I just did front squats and the bench press and chin-ups every day, what would happen? Would I get strong and jacked? Because that's not even an intelligent question. And I want people to understand that. I have free programs. I've even given you guys guides on how to transition from a novice program into conjugate even before you're a true intermediate. It's all here. Use it. Alright guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.